It's October, and that means many birdwatchers are searching for rare species. Several of these were found again this week. Also, this weekend was the Dutch birdwatching weekend, where hundreds of birdwatchers gathered on one island to enjoy bird migration. Willem and I were there as well, and soon there will be an awesome video about it. First, let's see what has been found in the Netherlands this week, and then we'll dive deeper into the species found during the Dutch birdwatching weekend. We start with the beautiful black-winged kite, which was only seen on Monday morning. Unfortunately, when Willem and I drove by later that day, after twitching another species on this list, the bird had already flown away. In the same area, the only redneck phalarope in the country was seen on Sunday in one of the flooded bulb fields. In the North Holland Dune Reserve, an alpine swift flying north was noticed. Unfortunately for many birdwatchers on Texel, the bird was not picked up there. I'll tell you what was seen on Texel later in the video. The pectoral sandpiper in Arnhem is still present, almost an entire month now. The ringneck ducks of Herogewaard and the Vogelmeer were, of course, seen again. I, however, dipped the one at Herogewaard. The lesser scaup was also present throughout the period at the Vogelmeer. On Texel, before the birdwatching weekend, a red-breasted flycatcher was found. It turned out to be a tricky bird that was not seen again. I hope I get another chance to film such a beautiful juvenile this autumn. Also, a Siberian chiffchaff was found in a non-accessible garden of a Texel birdwatcher before the weekend. This was the same garden where an eastern Bonellis warbler was present in 2021, for which the birdwatcher opened the garden to the public. Other Siberian chiffchaffs were reported in Culemborg and 1 or 2 birds at Piam. There were also 3 reports of another Siberian wood warbler, the dusky warbler. However, all 3 reports lacked convincing evidence, and the description possibly couldn't rule out Rarest warbler, a species that has already been noticed several times in northwestern Europe this year. However, that doesn't mean they couldn't have been dusky warblers. The sightings were reported in Berkel and Roderijs, the Slirechtse Biesbos, and the North Holland Dune Reserve. That Rarest warbler was indeed found in the Netherlands. I heard via the grapevine that the first one for Limburg was caught and ringed. It makes you think that these rare species can also be found inland, and with the patchwork challenge, it would be great if someone with an inland patch manages to find a gem in the coming weeks. Also, the first Pallises warblers were found in Haamstede, the North Holland Dune Reserve, and Meiendal. A remarkable observation was of a calling waxwing flying over the Maashorst, which was recorded. Listen to the recording here. On the 8th, a desert wheat ear was found on a field on the south side of Texel. It was only seen on the 8th this week, but more on this species in next week's video. Apart from the rare birds on Texel, the major attraction this week was the rustic bunting, which was found last week, but was still seen until Thursday in the Amsterdam water supply dunes. Finally, Willem and I got to visit a tame rustic bunting. I made a vlog about this bird, which will soon appear on this channel. The other 2 rustic buntings were also seen in the North Holland dunes. Additionally, another possible eastern yellow wagtail was observed. According to a wagtail calls expert, the calls sound very good for eastern. Personally, I don't hear it very clearly on the recording, and without DNA, it probably won't be confirmed. Now for the highlights of the Dutch birding weekend, which started on Friday. The rosy starling, that has been on the island for months and has appeared in these reports several times, is now in the middle of a village, where a jar of peanut butter hangs in a tree. The bird was not in great condition, closing its eyes at times during the day. The question is how long this crowd pleaser will stay. For me, it was my first adult rosy starling in the Netherlands after seeing about 10 juveniles. It's also nice to finally show different footage of this species than the only shot I had of the bird in April 2021. The American golden plover was still present on the island, but not always easy to find. This was because the flocks of golden plovers were regularly disturbed, sometimes by a bird of prey, but also by one of the small airplanes flying over the island constantly. I was personally very pleased with it, as it's always a fun species to film, and now I have finally some footage that meets my requirements for my filming list. At least 15 seconds in 4K quality or higher. The long-billed dowitcher could also be seen, foraging around the pier at low tide. Usually you have to wait for high tide for certain shorebirds, but this bird was only visible at low tide. I was also pleased with this one, as I often show you the summer plumage bird from Zeeland in 2022 when I talk about a bird in winter plumage, so now I have nice footage of both plumages. There was also a barred warbler at the lifeboat house. After days of not being reported, it suddenly reappeared. It could of course be a new one, but in October there aren't many around, so I assume it's the same bird that was already there. It could occasionally be beautifully seen eating blackberries or sitting still in an elderberry bush. It was my second time filming this species. Other bud warblers seen this week were reported on Vlieland, with sightings on both the east and west side of the island. Yellow-browed warblers were, of course, a favorite among the visitors of the Dutch birding weekend. This edition, however, it was hard work to see one. The most visited birds were in the Krimbos. Last year, I managed to find one myself on a beautiful Sunday morning, but unfortunately, that didn't happen this year. Willem and I did, however, find a rough-legged buzzard flying overhead, most likely an adult female. Strangely enough, no one else on the island picked it up. Other rough-legged buzzards were reported in the Amsterdam water supply dunes on Schiermonnikoog, Ameland and Terschelling. On Saturday evening, it turned out that everyone had missed the dodderel. Fortunately, the bird was found the next day and was reported in time. Single birds were also found in Kamperduin, Renkum and Westkapelle. On Sunday, it was time to do some sea watching due to the stormy onshore wind. Shortly after Willem and I had left the beach, a great northern diver flew by. Other seabirds that flew by, now classified as rare, were Leach's storm petrel, Manx shearwater and long-tailed skua. The latter was seen from the ferry as it flew into the Wadden Sea. On the 10th, Sabine's gulls were seen along Katwijk, the Maasvlakte and Westkapelle. On Terschelling, the first little auk of the season was seen during a sea watch. That other rare alcid, the black guillemot, was also seen again. Birds were reported flying past Ameland and Vlieland. During the Dutch birding weekend, a bird was also seen at sea. Later, it drifted further south and was seen in the Marsh Deep. The best seabird, however, was the European storm petrel, still a lifer for me. The bird was picked up during a seabird photography course on a boat in the North Sea above Ameland. However, it was only seen by one of the excursion leaders who managed to take a proof shot of it. Several interesting flyovers were noticed over land as well. On Saturday morning, a few Richard's pipits were heard, two of which I managed to pick up myself. On the sound recording of this bird, you can hear me calling out Grote Pieper, which is Dutch for Richard's pipit. But check out my upcoming video about the Dutch birding weekend for that recording. A few little buntings were also reported. Unfortunately, both the Richard's pipits and little buntings were not twitchable. The rarest species of the weekend, with which the binoculars were worn, turned out to be a Blythe's pipit, which followed the dune line from north to south. The same group of bird watchers also recorded a very likely greater short-toed lark, but as I've said before, I'm not really into flyover birds. Sure, it's exciting for the finders, especially if it's a lifer, but I want to see birds on the ground and share the finds with others. So, in the upcoming reports, I'll only cover non-mega rare pipits, buntings, etc. that were actually seen on the ground. If you like these weekly rare bird updates, make sure you subscribe, also hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one.